Welcome, college basketball fans, to the Full Court Press Podcast with LT and Sammy D. This is the podcast that brings you legendary stories from college basketball's golden era and dives in deep with a current analysis of today's game. Get ready for the most energetic and entertaining college basketball podcast around. Let's get it.
Hello and welcome to another Full Court Press, a college basketball coaches show. LT back in the saddle. I'm in a little bit different surroundings due to internet issues. I'm with my guy, Sammy D. I'm really excited. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review. Follow us on all the Twitter handles, Instagram. And if you want more, you want to support us, check out our Substack page. You'll be in the links below. But, Sam, one of my favorite conferences, and has been ever since we interviewed Coach Mo last year as one of our first guests, is the Big South. I love working with Mark Simpson at the Big South office. And, we've had Coach Huss, and now we've got another one. We actually have a gentleman that recently beat Coach Huss in the High Point team last night. We got Griff Aldrich. I almost called you Cole Aldrich. Any relation to Cole Aldrich?
Nope. Nope.
Oh. We got Coach Griff Aldrich from the Longwood Lancers. Welcome to the Full Court Press, Coach.
Thanks. Appreciate y'all having me on.
Yeah. So, Sammy, what'd you think, man? Recent game against High Point. We watched it. I mean, that's what conference basketball is all about, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, you have Longwood beating very, very good High Point team each year, winning by 2, back and forth, kind of came down to the wire last couple possessions and, getting some coverage on ESPNU. What I'm loving about the Big South is just how passionate the fan base is out there. And, I think you guys had a packed house out there last night. So talk a little about that game and how that crowd was.
Yeah, it's a ESPN platform game on ESPNU, as you said. And so I think, our community, we get great fan support. I think our arena holds about, a little over 3,000, I think like 3,200 or something like that. And I think we've sold season tickets for almost a third of it. So, which is pretty phenomenal. And especially when you think some of a big chunk of the arena is reserved for student seating too. So it's a big number. So we've been fortunate to get good crowd support. I think actually we're second in the conference behind High Point in attendance at home games. So last night, the students, they came back to started classes on Wednesday. And so this was the second full day of classes. And so I think they were excited to come out and be on a national broadcast. And I think they got to see, I really, reflected, it was really just a really good basketball game. Yeah. High Point is a tremendous team. Allen's got a great group. Again, it's got great continuity with a lot of returners. And it was really just a battle from start to finish.
Yeah. When you ever can beat a team that's got the Huss bus, it's always a good thing. So you beat High Point. Now you're going to play your next game. This will air the day of your next game or the day of the night game. You're playing at Radford. Radford's having a really good season. You probably have, 3, 4, 5 teams at the top, but as we talked off air, just because you're at the top doesn't mean the bottom's not going to be the top, as we're seeing this year. What do you expect kind of a raucous crowd at Radford that night?
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Coach Nichols, what he's done with his group. The landscape we're in right now in college athletics is such a wild card. The Big South is a little bit unique this year. Because we have a lot of teams that you've asked a question, I'm going to answer another one. But
sounds like a politician / lawyer.
Yeah. The Big South is just chock full of teams that actually were able to retain a lot of players.
Mm-hmm.
You look at High Point was able to keep a bunch of their key players too. first team, all conference guys, the freshman of the year. That's pretty remarkable. Charleston Southern kept its nucleus together. Winthrop kept 4 starters together, including a first teamer. Gardner Webb brought a couple of guys back. Asheville kept some all conference players. We were able to keep, Elijah Tucker and Michael Christmas. And so I think that's really helped to elevate the conference this year. But I also think it's really made for a lot of parity. And, there's the, got a team like Radford, which lost a ton. To have them playing well and competing and playing like a team is really, really impressive. And I think there's a lot of each team when you're bringing in a lot of new pieces, particularly in the NIL era. And I don't know if Radford's engaged in that or not. But it's just there's a lot more complexity than there was 3 to 5 years ago. And there's a lot more challenges for the kids. And it's just the challenge to build and create a team environment and team focus is probably, in my opinion, the biggest challenge for coaches these days. And it's really sad. And it's what the adults have done, not the kids. I don't think anybody's against kids receiving benefits financially. But the system right now is totally broken. It's totally unfair to the kids. And I think we're really robbing them of tremendous college experience that many of us enjoyed. So we need to figure out a way where, we can be able to provide, a development type experience for the players, while still giving them, the opportunity to financially benefit. And, but right now it's a train wreck.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have the honor and privilege of talking to a lot of head coaches around the country. And, the words like team identity and culture keep being brought up in these conversations. You kind of took a step forward. You actually hired a managing director of culture formation this year. Is that kind of part of this whole like creating a team atmosphere in that player development?
No, yes and no. I wasn't really thinking about what I just mentioned. I'm a Christian and faith is really important to me. But I'm also really jacked up and can get really focused on winning. And so one of the main things is I really want our program to be focused on helping transform the guys. And I'm such a driver that oftentimes during the season you can kind of have mission drift. And we want at the end of the day, if we win the Big South, wonderful, fantastic. I'll be excited. But I do think, honestly, at the end of the day, we'll be much more excited about our guys being transformed. And so that position that was created last year was more about how do we keep, the players and their growth and their transformation at, the center of what we're trying to accomplish at Longwood. And that's hard. It's become harder in the current environment. But Michael Crowder has done a phenomenal job. I think he's impacted the staff as much as he's impacting the players. And I think it'll continue to grow as we're trying to figure out what does this look like and how is it most impactful. And so, we'll keep working on things.
Yeah, no offense, you and every other coach. It's crazy. It's funny this week or the last 2 weeks we've had Faith with Coach Tang, and you're giving me hope because you didn't coach for a long time. You did something different. And I think my 8-2 CYO career might transform me into a college basketball coach one day. So I appreciate you, Coach.
Yeah, I'm not sure I was ever. I don't even think I had a dominant record like 8-2. So
hey, if you can win with 3rd and 5th graders, you can win with anybody, especially in the NIL transfer portal model.
That's right. That's right. NIL, there's just a milkshake.
No, man, you haven't met my son. He wants like chicken nuggets and everything else. But no, it's interesting, and I that's why I think I'm so fascinated with the Big South is how many players you returned as a conference, and the players you brought in are good fits. Like it's not some taking a flyer on a guy giving him 150,000. Like you look at the teams that brought in players like UNC Asheville. They lost Drew Pember, lost some other players, but they haven't skipped a beat. You look at the American Athletic Conference, which is, very good in basketball too. They only had one conference player return out of 15 guys. So I think it's really it's disappointing the Big South doesn't get as much media coverage. I think last night was a start. And you look at, like you said, Charleston Southern, they've got the leading scorer. He's right there kind of scratching the surface. But when you talk about the transfer portal and NIL, the thing that we never talk about is school. And what I want to know from your opinion is how are these kids going to graduate if they're going to like 3-4 schools? And then also you talk about transformational. How is it transformational if some of these kids are just like, hey, I'm not playing? Or like redshirt. We laugh when a coach says the kid's getting redshirted. I mean, I'm not playing, I'm gone. Like, I guess how do you keep that in-house with that kind of triggers? Because, we've heard stories of, handshake lines, making deals during the season, agents. I mean, it's really crazy. I mean, how do you keep it all in-house and keep it on the right path?
Well, I think, in defense of the players, again, what I would say is think about some of the numbers that you're hearing that these guys are getting paid. Now, I don't know if they're true or not. I'm sure some of them are. But, certainly 6-figure numbers. And so you've got these kids who, the reality is that they've got a lot of people in their ears who are probably telling them that they're better than they are. And that was happening before NIL, right? People
just go to an AAU tournament, coach.
Yeah, exactly. But now the difference is, hey, if you go somewhere else, you can make 6 figures. But here's the different thing that people aren't thinking about enough. They've got this tiny window. They've got 4 years. And so it exponentially increases the pressure and the distraction for them to focus, because the reality is they know people who are playing overseas making $30,000-$40,000,
yep,
$50,000. And all of a sudden you're telling me I can go to, a Power 4 program and make, 10 times that.
Right.
But I only got these 3 to 4 years to do it. So I bet like, you think about y'all's program and whatever dream y'all have for this podcast, you don't feel like, hey, if this thing's going to hit, it needs to hit in the next 6 months. Otherwise it ain't going to work. It's, hey, we can take our time. We can continue to refine. We can continue to build. We can continue to grow. And, same thing with coaches. Coaches are, hey, we've got a good team, and maybe I'll get hired by a different school. But if it doesn't happen, well, I've got next year or the year after that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not in this isolated short, time frame. And so I think that just exponentially increases the pressure on these kids. And what it does is it really shifts their focus for many of them to, how can you not be self-focused?
Yeah.
How can you, and that's the shame, I think, that where I think we're really robbing the kids is we've created this environment where it's virtually impossible for them. Only the best of the best can really kind of stay the course.
Yeah.
And or maybe they're just a lot better coaches out there who are able to It's one of the things I'm really proud of our guys right now. Like, we've got a lot of new guys, and I think this group is really coming together. And we talk about buy-in, we talk about being a team. And that's really hard right now. And I tell them all the time, we're very transparent. Guys, you guys are playing, and it's unfair, the environment, what you're being asked to do. But the reality is, for you to be successful and for the team to be successful, we all have to just kind of commit to doing what the team needs us to do. And that's, to be honest with you, it's really hard. But the other thing is, it's also called life. We all don't get what we want all the time. And oftentimes it's rare that we get what we want, but you got to do the next right thing.
Well, set my weekend up for disaster. Thanks, Coach. I feel that sentiment having 3 kids under 15, Coach.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Sorry, Sam.
No, it's all good. How is, like, when you talk about creating a relationship with some of these young men, how has recruiting changed the past couple of years? It seems like you guys have done a really good job, raising money for like new facilities and you're selling out crowds, and like, is that still important to some of these kids when they come on campus?
Yeah, I think so. It's funny. We actually, as a staff, talked the other day about, what are the key factors to retain kids? Because I do think continuity is huge. When you think about culture, to me, it's the returning guys teaching the new guys. I think Matt Painter said, when he was talking about it, like, we don't become you, you become us. And that's hard when there's just massive turnover. That's really hard. And I've talked to a number of coaches over the past couple of months talking about the transfer portal and the pace and the speed. And it's, one guy said, it's just flat out luck, because, to me, the talent is one thing, but it's the character and talent. It's, last night was a great example of a basketball game where you had a lot of talent on the floor, but you also had to be disciplined. You had to execute. You had to be tough. Well, how do you figure that out in a 3-week period? And you can, like, think about what the NBA does. Think about what all these other people are doing. And the difference, again, overseas in the pro leagues are, well, if you don't do it, we'll just send you home and we'll get another guy. And so that's obviously not our situation. It's not what I want our situation to be. But, everybody's on their best, behavior. And, my when I was dating my now wife, her father, told her, time is the best tell. People's character, comes out over time. But we're speed dating. We're not. How do you build a relationship? These kids are getting 40 to 50 calls a day. How are you supposed to build a relationship with a kid? I think it's really hard. And so, there's certain things that we look for, and we try to really figure out if we find those in the guys that we recruit. And we certainly cross out a lot of guys when it doesn't seem that it fits. And obviously, you talk to people and try to get a feel. Are they going to fit into our system? Are they going to fit at the university? Are they going to fit in the community? And then you pray and hope that it does fit. And I think and we haven't gotten it right all the time. But I will say one of the core elements, and this year's no different, of our program is I do think we have really good kids. And do they all, stay the course the way, coaches would want? Probably not, but at their core, they're really good kids who are trying. And that's really important.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting. You were an assistant coach. It looks for like about a year at Hampton Sydney. You're obviously familiar with that school. And then you took a little bit of a hiatus to become an attorney or lawyer. You went to law school, I believe, at UVA. And what was why did you come back? I see you were the director of recruiting at UMBC, the Retrievers. I had a buddy that played golf there in high school, went to UMBC for a little bit. I guess, what were you thinking? Why were you having like a midlife crisis? Were you just like itching to get back into coaching? Because, being an attorney and it sounds like you did a very good job. You were set, you were, doing well. Why the move? And how did that go over with the family?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I think first off, it's probably important to know that I was coaching AAU a lot, even while I was practicing law. And I got into the oil and gas business for a little bit and private equity. And for me, I was involved. Our journey was we started in Houston for 6 years, then we went to London for 4 years. The first 6 years I was coaching AAU in Third Ward, which is an inner city or urban part of Houston. And then we left and went to London with my law firm for 4 years, and then came back and I coached again for another 6 years. And I was coaching with a Christian ministry, and at the time, basketball, which is a passion, something that I've loved forever, but it was really the hook to try to impact kids and provide them with something stable. And it was a really neat program that's still going on. It's called His Hoops. And the program involved academic, spiritual, and athletic development. And basically, we had the kids 4 days a week, and they would come after school this spring and summer, and they would have to do academic work. They all had their own little laptops, and they would sign in, and they'd have to do reading comprehension and math. And they did that 4 days a week. And at the end of the week, if they hadn't done, their work, then they didn't get to play in the tournament. And we always allowed them to come on Fridays and kind of make up any work that they didn't do so that they could play. But we also weren't trying to go be on a shoe circuit or anything like that. We had good players, but who had potential, but they weren't EYBL type peach jam kids. And so that just really getting back to answering your question, that really continued to grip me. And it was at a midlife crisis. I think I would probably say I felt like God was really kind of changing my heart to I was really finding my purpose more in the time I was spending with those kids. And I really felt like, how did I want to invest the rest of my life? And I was 42 years old, and the journey wasn't, hey, I woke up on a Thursday and Monday decided I wanted to go coach. This was probably an 18-month journey where I was kind of growing in my own faith with, hey, what am I supposed to be doing? And I love practicing law. I love the work that I was doing. I really enjoyed it. But I felt like I was being called to coach and try to invest, with my time there. In all honesty, I didn't think I would leave the private sector. I thought it was, I thought I would, try to go work 75% and do coaching 25%, maybe be an assistant at a high school or do more work with His Hoops. And it was really my wife who said, well, don't you love college? and at basketball. And I said, yeah, that's what I love. She said, well, why don't you try to go do that? And, again, I'm 42 years old, a CFO of a private equity, firm. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know of any coaches who are really looking for that. It might be now the general manager role, but, and so, and it was just at that time, I started talking to, my best friend from college, Ryan Odom, who at the time was at, long storied, coaching career and as an assistant, got his first head job at a D2 school. And I was really just bouncing off ideas. Well, am I nuts? And I really thought he would be like, Griff, you like, just do what you're doing and you don't want to do this. And he was like, man, I'd go for it. And, he called me back. We were talking, every week or so. And, this is kind of November, December timeframe. Calls me back, January, February, and says, hey, I may actually have a job opportunity. And, I could bring you on potentially. So be thinking about that. And he ended up, a month later getting the job at UMBC. He had a close relationship with the AD, who's now my AD at Longwood, Tim Hall. And so he knew that there was a potential that they'd make a change. And he knew that he at least had a relationship with Tim where Tim would take his call. Ryan ended up having a great year, getting hired at UMBC, and then hired me actually as the director of operations to start. And then the next year, my roles shifted a little bit. But that's kind of the path. But I honestly, I always thought I'd just be with Ryan, which would have been great. And had zero expectation of ever being a head coach. Really didn't feel qualified. I mean, I had coached AAU. I was like ball screen offense. Like, what is that? Like, we don't do that. We set screens for people and throw it to two big men. And so I'd been away from the game, and still coaching the way I had been coached. And so, I just thought I'd be with Ryan, try to help him build a program. We had an absolute ball. He's one of my dearest friends, and it was a great 2 years with him.
Nice. It's funny. It's funny. He says as it's been 2 of the last 3 NCAA tournaments.
I know they made some pretty big history at UMBC together. Being the first 16 seed to knock off.
I always love when people are like, "Well, tell us how you did it." I was like, I was worried about what we were eating after the game.
That's so funny. Well, we're big Coach Odom fans. I'm out in Mountain West country, so I had the privilege of watching Utah State quite for 2 years. Everybody was sad to see him leave, but he's doing a great job at VCU. 13-4 this year. Doing really well in conference. So,
I tell you what. Quick aside on him. One of the great joys I've had in my professional career. One of the things that really I find fun, like this would happen would happen when I was practicing law. There's sometimes you're in a room. When I was at law school, it happened too. You're like, man, these guys just have more horses, than I do. And, when I was practicing law, sometimes you'd be in a negotiation or something like, man, that was really impressive how somebody handled something. And it's really fun when it's one of your great friends and to just kind of see, Ryan, who I could tell a lot of stories on, and he could, tell a lot of stories on me about as well, just to kind of see somebody be really elite at what they do and gifted. It's just that I will always cherish that time.
Yeah. Awesome. Sammy, do you think he's ready?
Yeah, let's do it, Luke. So, Coach, we do a little thing called the shot clock. Luke's going to fire off 4 or 5 questions here for you. Some of them may be one-word answers. Some of them may lead to a short story, but the platform's yours. So, Luke, let's get it.
All right. One word to describe Longwood.
Nurturing.
Okay. One word to describe the Big South Conference.
Competitive.
Okay. Who would you say of all the coaches had the highest GPA in college?
In the Big South?
Yeah.
In the Big South?
Yeah.
Not Mike Morrell.
I love it. Coach Mo.
You will have to text him and tell him I said that.
Yeah. Okay.
Mike's a good buddy of mine.
All right. So let's give some positivity. Who would you say is the best dressed in the Big South? You look down the sidelines. Who would you say? I mean, I saw you guys suiting up last night. Who would you say is the best dressed in the Big South?
Quentin Farrell does a really good job when he puts a suit on, and I think he works out and takes care of himself. So he might get the nod.
Okay. Who would be the funniest coach in the conference?
Man, good question. Funny is we've got so many new coaches. He's Jeremy Luther at Gardner Webb. I don't know him well, but man, he's got some. He's added a lot of comedy to some of our calls and text strings.
Okay. Who has the most fouls on your team right now?
The most fouls?
Yeah,
per game. Trivia.
Yeah.
Per game, man. It's a great competition. It's a heated race. I think most fouls might be Angelo Brizzi.
So at 2.2 per game called against him is Kobe Garland.
That's 2. Is 2.2 the highest right now?
Yeah, on his team.
Right.
Yeah,
really.
And he plays the most minutes too, which is interesting.
Yeah, I don't remember him being in foul trouble ever either. He's very selective.
Maybe the referees call it on somebody else. They tell you they call it on somebody else. They put it on him. That's the worst when you're a single-digit number because you always get the fouls code because it's easy. It's just 5, 4, 3, whatever, 2. Who leads the conference for team fouls? Who's been called the most in your conference this year?
Team fouls. It's hard because I haven't been through it all the way. I wouldn't be surprised. High Point might actually.
No, Winthrop.
I was going to say Winthrop. I know they get a lot of fouls called for them. But yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and then Radford, who you play next, is called the least. So you might want to be nice to the officials.
Oh, really? Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Best coaching advice
that he's ever received?
Yeah, best coaching advice. Could be at any level.
It's gonna be probably silly, but trust the process, stay the course.
Yep. That's good. All right, 2 more. Funniest recruiting story.
Man. You stumped me. Funniest recruiting story. I don't know if I have. Give me a second. Let me pass on that one.
Okay, that's fine. You can always text us or call us or email us. All right. So I'm going to add another question then. What is your spirit animal?
Spirit animal?
Yeah.
A lion? I don't know. It depends. You ask my wife.
Well, what do you think your wife?
Annoying hyena.
Okay. What is the song that best describes you?
Song that best describes me. Man, these are hard questions.
If you had a victory parade in Farmville, Virginia at the end of the year, victory parade, and they introduce you, what song do you want to walk out to that victory parade in?
What song? Man. Well, hopefully we are the champions.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. That's good. Well, you won nothing, you got nothing.
What's that?
You won nothing, you got nothing, but hey, you probably be like, who are these two clowns? But Sam, finish them off for me.
Yeah, no, Coach, we really appreciate you coming on the Full Court Press Coaches Show. I'm just going to turn the last minute of the episode over to you. If there's anything you want to share to the Longwood Lancer fans, boosters, student section, the community in Farmville, anything they could be looking forward to as you kind of move on to this next phase of the season.
Yeah, I'm excited for the rest of the season. I think that each team is kind of as I'm growing as a coach and gaining more experience, I'm trying to enjoy the journey of each team and the complexity of trying to put the team together and get it to gel and operate as one cohesive unit. I'm really excited about this particular group. I think we have the potential as the pieces continue to gel and come together to have an exciting finish to the season.
Awesome.
And I think our fans and community are second to none, and have just been incredible in embracing the program, our players, and our family. And so looking forward to finishing out the 25 season.
Awesome.
And exciting days ahead.
Awesome, Coach. Well, you're going to stick with us for one more second as we upload this fine episode. Coach, we really appreciate it. We're really excited for the season ahead. There's going to be some great games we'll be watching tonight as you guys play Radford, the Highlanders, in lovely Virginia. But Coach, thanks for again. Appreciate you guys sticking on with us, listening, watching. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you can. Check out our Twitter handles on Instagram. Support us on Substack. Give us a 5-star review. And we'll see you next week on the Full Court Press, a college basketball coaches show.